Thanks for everyone for being here today. I'm going to try to make this as normal for Jeff as possible with our introductory press conference that we normally would do in person. So obviously it's a great pleasure of mine to introduce Jeff Okudah to the Lions media corps. He's a great football player, but I'd say even a better human being out of all the research we've done, people we've talked to, and our scouting the last 2 years. When we were on the clock, it was an easy decision to make Jeff a Lion.
We're just really excited that we had the opportunity to add him to our team. Obviously, as a player, everything he's done on the field is phenomenal. His skill set, his ability to go out there and match up in different roles, play at a high level. Jeff, we're so excited to have you here. I'm going to turn it over to you, and Eamon, you can kind of lead the charge here. But just a phenomenal, great young man, and we're so excited to have you on our team.
Yeah, so first off, just want to thank Coach, thank Bob, Ford family. Talked to Mrs. Ford this morning. Cannot wait to meet her. She seems like a great person, and just ready to get to Detroit, get it rolling.
Jeff, you've talked a lot about your study habits. I just wondered if you could walk me through like a week for you in preparing for an opponent, and then also maybe how you study some of the NFL players that you've kind of stolen or borrowed some of their games and incorporated into yours.
So I'll get in on Monday. We'll watch the 11, 10, 12 personnel stuff, get back with the coaches the next day, meet with him, and apply it to practice. So really just studying the receivers throughout the week, being really detailed, looking at the route concepts, how offenses are trying to attack us that week, and just really being meticulous about it. And I think that it's really helped. My process has really helped my play. Well, when I first got to Ohio State, I kind of struggled to pick up learning offense and stuff like that. So after practice, I would just meet with one of the assistant GAs, and we just watch practice, and he would just kind of talk to me about it from a coach's standpoint. And then like kind of through that way, I started watching the film in the same way, and eventually I was able to start watching it myself. And I just kind of fell in love with the process and how you start seeing patterns and they match at practice, and then it's like the game just gets slower and slower.
Hey, Jeff, congratulations. First off, both Bob and Matt talked about your work ethic and your character and a lot of the stuff that you do off the field. Where do you think that was first instilled in you, and how have you kind of developed that as you built through your football career?
I think it comes just being tough and seeing my mom go through what she was going through at the time with chemotherapy. And while she's doing chemotherapy, she was still in a nursing school. And just seeing that, it just instilled the work ethic, just knowing that you get out what you put into things. So I'm always trying to put my best foot forward and strive to be great.
What part of your game do you take the most pride in, and what do you feel like is the biggest asset that you're bringing here to Detroit?
I take pride in my technique a lot. Something that I pride myself on a lot, put a lot of hours into studying guys, going out there, putting in work, sharpening my technique. And I think my willingness to learn. I'm going to come in, willing to learn, really open-minded, and try to soak up a lot of information from the older guys.
Hi, my question is about draft night, and it certainly wasn't what you probably expected. I'm sure you wanted to have the suit and be in Las Vegas and do that whole thing. Talk to me about adapting to this world that we're living in and what the next step is. Are you going to work out virtually and all that stuff?
It was still cool to me. I think that just everything going on, having an in-person draft wasn't the most important thing. I think just the fact that I was surrounded by loved ones was it was really cool to me. The whole moment was surreal. I felt like I was on cloud nine all day yesterday. So I think that I'm feeling really good about being a Detroit Lion.
You are joining a team with a GM and a head coach who have Super Bowl credibility and pedigree, I guess I could say. What excites you about helping turn around this thing that they are trying to turn around and shift a defense that you will impact immediately? What excites you about that?
Just to be part of something special. I mean, when I was at Ohio State, my sophomore year, we were the 75th overall total defense, and then we finished up my junior year as #1 overall defense. So I love to be part of change, and I think that when you put all hands on deck, special things can happen.
what a catch! Oh, the football real fast. The Lions have got it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked. Oh, this place is on fire now.
When you're home, there's nothing like enjoying a classic with a classic. Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories.
Welcome back to the Lions virtual draft party presented by Miller Lite here on day 2 of the draft. We've heard quite a bit from Jeff Okudah. Now let's get down to breaking down the pick. DetroitLions.com's Mike O'Hara caught up with Lions legend Chris Spielman to talk all about the Lions selection of Okudah. Take a look.
Hey Lions fans, Matthew Stafford here.
Hey guys, Frank Ragnow here.
What's up guys, this is TJ Hawkinson, Detroit Lions 2019 first round draft pick.
We know this year's draft looks and feels a little bit different, but we hope we're providing a sense of connection and getting you excited for the season to come.
I want to say good luck to all the prospects this year. This is still such an exciting time for cities throughout the country.
Detroit fans never failed to show their determination and their resilience, and we need it now more than ever.
But before next season, we as an NFL family have an opportunity to help those who've been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
We're calling on you to make a difference this draft. Please join me, my teammates, and NFL fans across the country in an NFL Draft-a-thon.
Please join the Detroit Lions in supporting Feeding America as part of the NFL Draft-a-thon.
Please join us in Feeding America.
Visit NFL.com/relief.
Hi, and welcome to the Day 1 Draft Recap with Chris Spielman. I'm Mike O'Hara, and we're brought to you by the Southeast Michigan Ford dealers. And Chris Spielman, you've been through drafts. You were drafted by the Detroit Lions in 1988 in the second round out of Ohio State, and you've followed this forever. What's your your takeaway from draft night in the National Football League? Even under the circumstances they did it this year, it just seemed so special.
You know, I thought they did a great job. Everybody involved, from the television coverage to the commissioner to the general managers. I think everybody understood and put whatever needs they had aside and did something that made the league look good. And I think a lot of people, including myself as a fan and an analyst for Fox, enjoyed the coverage. I thought it was great.
Well, isn't that what football teams do? They adjust and adapt, whether it's halftime, third quarter. They meet obstacles and they adapt and they adjust without even looking at the film.
Yeah, I think if anybody can make an adjustment, that's a great point, Mike, that the NFL can do that, because that's all they do. That's what they do on the fly. And I remember just talking to I talked to my brother, Rick, this morning, who's the general manager of the Vikings. And I asked him what was the experience like for him. And he, first of all, I thought it was cool because he had 2 of his kids in a room with him. And then one of them was kind of helping him move things around the board. But he said it was kind of strangely peaceful, where, you know, normally those war rooms, as they like to call them, are chaotic. So he actually, I think, enjoyed the experience. Now, he said it could be a little bit more challenging today because obviously the draft picks and the time between are shortened.
Okay, Chris, now look, it's just one pick, but, you know, we analyze it to death. But Jeff Okudah, the cornerback from Ohio State, drafted 3rd overall. You've been high on him. Tell us what you like about him. Tell us what the Detroit Lions are getting in this young man who was by far the top-rated cornerback in this draft.
You right there, you said it, Mike, by far, and there wasn't a close second. That's just not my opinion. That is a consensus amongst everybody that I talk to that is in the know, and that's within the league. Right there, you see one thing you like for corners is long arms, a good break on the football, a guy that plays with controlled passion. And when you are a defense that plays as much man as the Detroit Lions do, and we know that nobody plays more man defense than the Lions philosophically, and you are 32nd ranked in the league in pass defense, you better get some pass defenders. And we also know that out of all the positions, corner is the most difficult position to find. And when you have the best one available and he's sitting right there, I think it was a no-brainer pick. I think it was the absolute right pick to make, and it was a pick I would have made. Now, the question is, why didn't they trade down and still get Okudah, because nobody knows, even though they were talking to Jacksonville or Miami or LA Chargers, nobody knows what the Chargers or Dolphins were offering. If it's something that you didn't think was of the right value, then you stick with your choice, because you're guaranteed the best player that you need on your team at the position that you were sitting in.
And some of the people are questioning, did Bob Quinn, the general manager of the Detroit Lions, do a bad job of selling the pick, of quote unquote marketing the pick? How do you react to that?
So I would react to them. How many people in Metro Detroit, if they were, or Detroit Lions fans, if they were Bob Quinn, how many people would say, okay, I'm drafting Tua, that's who I'm taking, and I'm just going to either cut Stafford or try to trade him or whatever? How many people would say that would be a great pick today, that you drafted Tua? What would you guess, Mike? I'm serious. I don't know. I'm just asking. You live there, so you tell me.
Probably 25%, because they just love change,
Okay.
and they love trading down.
Okay.
Trading
So
down no matter what.
25%. Yeah, so 25%. So let me ask you this. You know this because you've covered the league for 40 years, 35 years, 40 years, 45? I don't know, whatever it is, a lot of years.
Keep going. Chris, take a look at this head, okay? You think it hasn't been around?
Do you know that general managers will predict with accuracy everybody's pick? So if Bob Quinn goes and tries to sell that, hey, I'm getting rid of Stafford and I'm going to draft Tua, because of the circumstances that Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia are under, they're in a win now kind of, I think they are, a win now mode. At least that's my feeling. Do you think that general managers are going to sit there and say, well, they got a 31-year-old quarterback, and what they're telling me is they need to win now, but they're going to cut a starting quarterback that's a record-setting quarterback and go with a rookie to win now? How many general managers are going to actually buy that BS?
We'll take a quick look here now. Day 2, there's 3 draft picks. There's a second-round pick for the Detroit Lions and 2 third-round picks. You kind of look at the board. You don't have to say specifically, but if you're the Detroit Lions, what should they be looking for if things go their way? And they've got the 3rd pick overall, or 3rd pick in the second round, 35th overall.
Well, I think in a second, I think they're going to try to move around a little bit. I think they're going to move up here. I think they're going to try to position themselves. But if I were them, and I've looked at this, and I looked at it last night, I'm going D-line. So, our interior defensive line, I do believe there's quality. There's no Brown in there, but there's a guy that can be a good rotational player. So I'm going D-line. I'll probably go O-line. Then with the 3rd pick today, it depends on who's on the board and if I want to move up. I'm either going running back or wide receiver. And if there's a running back, it's for me, there's some good guys out there. Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift still on the board. Or if a wide receiver, a guy that intrigues me that I think can be a really good player is KJ Hamler out of Penn State. So those are the positions that I'm looking at. But my next pick, I'm going interior defensive line. Then I'm looking at offensive line, possible guards. There's a kid out of Ohio State named Jonah Jackson who I think won't get past the 3rd round. I'm actually quite convinced that he won't get past the 3rd round.
Chris Spielman, enjoy the night tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow. We'll talk about rounds 2 and rounds 3 on our wrap show.
All right, Mike. Good talking to you, buddy.
The night Jeff Okudah was drafted, we caught up with him virtually, but today we actually are giving fans a chance to catch up with him. We asked you guys to submit your questions for Jeff, so he is joining us now to answer some of your questions. Jeff, thank you so much. Welcome back in. How's it feeling now that you're on your 2nd day of being a Detroit Lion?
It feels great. I'm just talking to some of the players. Matt Stafford reached out to me last night. So, I'm just feeling the love from the city.
All right, well, we will hop into these fan questions. Our very first one is from Andrew Core. He wants to know, what receiver do you most look forward to locking up?
So for me, just going to Ohio State, I look forward to going against Mike Thomas. I know he won Offensive Player of the Year, so I think it'll be a pretty cool matchup.
All right, I love it. That's a good one. Dill Patrick Dearman wants to know, what part of your game do you take the most pride in?
Technique, my attention to detail. I'm always trying to find a way to get better and to see where I stand against other people.
Well, this one is from Tyler Schnood. He says, what are you looking forward to about playing in Matt Patricia's defense?
I'm looking forward to making plays, having the whole defense play fast, play physical, and just have a lot of fun out there and make a lot of plays with the guys.
I think fans would be happy with that answer. You're looking forward to making plays. I think they are looking forward to the same. You already answered this fan question about whether Matthew Stafford reached out to you. I know that's always fun. What did he have to say?
He was just telling me to soak it all in. It's a really cool moment. And he said he can't wait to get me in Detroit.
All right. What player did you idolize growing up? That question is from iBlyler12.
So growing up, I played offense a lot. I like to watch Terrell Owens. I always thought he was pretty funny on the field.
That's a good one. So you're going to be playing alongside Desmond Trufant. Birdman Greg asks, what are your thoughts on playing with Trufant?
Well, I think he's a great corner. He's been in the league for a while, so just someone that I can definitely lean on for guidance and kind of just pick up nuggets from him and apply it to my game.
All right, we got a lot of questions about this next subject. I think understandably, considering you went to Ohio State and now you are playing in the state of Michigan. Lucas Walsh04 says, welcome to Detroit. So happy to have you, but also go blue. How do you feel about, interacting with some of these Michigan fans since you are now going to be living in the state of Michigan?
I think it'll be fun. I think it'll provide a lot of good spirited banter or whatever. So I'm getting ready just to hear everything they have to say.
Yeah, I love it. Taylor Decker had to go through the same thing as a first-round pick as a Lion as well. So Ohio State players have thrived in Detroit. It is possible. Rye Guy wants to know, how does it feel to be a Michigan athlete after you're part of that rivalry?
It feels good. I mean, always, anytime you have a chance to go to the next level, play with a great group of guys, I just take it as a really good feeling. I think it'll be a great experience.
Okay, but then when Sunday Night Football does your intro recordings, are you going to say Ohio State or are you going to say the Ohio State University?
I'm going to say the Ohio State University.
All right, I like it. You're ready already. Sean G wants to know, what was your favorite memory playing for the Bucs?
Favorite memory was actually going undefeated against Michigan.
You're breaking a lot of Lions fans' hearts with that one because a lot of them are fans of both teams. But I think that they will forgive you and get over it. I know they're all excited to have you here in Detroit still. Now let's get to some off-the-field questions for you. Actor Abu Thamen wants to know, what part of Nigeria is your family from, brother?
So they're from the south side of Lagos, and we are from the Igbo tribe.
Very cool. Hannah Ashraf asks, Madden or NBA 2K?
I was a 2K guy earlier this year, but I kind of transitioned over to Madden just because 2K's been a little bit too unrealistic for me lately.
Cato the creator asks, what's your spirit animal?
My spirit animal. I think my spirit animal is a tiger because, it's always going to be calm, but then when it's time to go, it get crazy quick.
I like it. Very fitting for fans of Detroit sports. This one is from Nick B. He says, what is your favorite hobby when you're not playing football?
I like to watch Netflix a lot. So just watch different series, binge watch different shows. So I'm a heavy Netflix guy.
All right. A lot of us are heavy Netflix people during quarantine. What is your biggest show recommendation?
You got to check out Prison Break for sure.
Okay. All right. I'm adding it to my list to catch up on while we are in quarantine. This one's from J3 Watt. He asks, who's your favorite rapper or artist to work out to?
So I like to work out to Young Thug, just because he has different kind of beats, different kind of styles. So I think it makes it easy to switch it from calm music to a little bit more upbeat.
All right, and finally, so many of our questions were about what jersey number you're gonna wear. We're probably not quite to that point in the process yet. I mean, you just got drafted yesterday, but we do have a question from Supreme Schaefer once those jerseys do come out. He says, can I get my Okuda jersey signed?
For sure. You can get it signed. Just get it to me and I'll get it signed.
I love it. I love it. I know you're excited to get your hands on that jersey, as are a lot of fans who watched you get drafted last night. Jeff, thanks so much for answering some of these fan questions, and we can't wait till you get to be in Detroit.
No problem.
End zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Oh, the football real fast. The Lions have got it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked. Oh, this place is on fire now.
When you're home, there's nothing like enjoying a classic with a classic. Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories.
Joining me now to talk about the pick from the first night of the draft is Lions defensive coordinator Cory Undlin. Cory, had to be a crazy night for you last night. Picking at number 3, you get a defensive player. What did you think of taking Jeff Okudah?
Yeah, super excited, not only for us as an organization, as a defense, as a team, but the entire city, Lions Nation. We got a really good one, And his play on the field, obviously, was where the evaluation process starts. But this is a special kid too, an impressive young man. In all facets of what he has and what he's gone through and what he's done. So super excited for all of us with that addition of Jeff.
Take us into your home war room as everything was going on. I know it was a little bit different than being in a war room at the facility, but you got a defensive player last night. What was your involvement in that process, and what was your own personal reaction?
Yeah, so I mean, the process would be no different if we were all in the building. Started watching tape on Jeff a long time ago, way back when, and obviously got to be around him at the combine, which I think everybody's mentioned a little bit about that interview that we had with him there. He walked out of the room, and you could tell how the kid was wired. And then the tape evaluation continues to go on, and then obviously we did a top 30 visit with him on the Zoom 2 weeks ago. And just as impressive in that scenario there. And then leading up till tomorrow, obviously there was a bunch of discussions going on. And then, I was on with the Zoom with Matt, he was with Bob. So it was kind of, we were kind of just segmented that way. And finally came to the point where he said, hey man, we're taking Jeff here. We're going to stay at 3. We're going to pick him. And that was it. So I did not, there was no argument for me on that decision.
Yeah, I'm guessing that you were pretty pleased with that decision. Yeah. You haven't gotten to really coach this defense quite yet, but you do have a background of coaching defensive backs. So I would imagine that you're pretty excited to get to work with a player like him.
Very, very excited. Again, not just because of his skill set to play corner. I don't need to take you through the characteristics or the traits that you need to play out there. It's a hard position to play. A key position on any defense. And then, with the additions that we've made, with the guys that we already have on the roster in that room, he's going to be a perfect fit. But this guy, he can play press. He's physical at the line of scrimmage. He is polished that way. I mean, I wouldn't say he's perfect, but he would be the first to tell you he's got things that he can get better at. But at this stage right now, to be able to walk out of the draft on the first night and with a player like that, we got better on defense and we got better as a team with him. So well done. I mean, that hats go off to Bob and Matt and that whole scouting staff. They spent a lot of time with him. Obviously we got to see just the back end of it here once the season got over. So well done by everybody on that standpoint.
Yeah, I love that. Obviously, you're kind of still figuring out what getting him into this defense looks like. You mentioned some of those players that you brought in this offseason. Desmond Trufant, obviously, joining at the corner position as well. Just initially, where do you envision him fitting into this defense?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to play corner. He's going to play at a very high level. with True and Amon. I mean, I could list all those guys that are in that room. That's going to be a nice little mix. There'll be some great competition right there, and we'll see obviously how that goes as we get into it, which we don't know when that's going to be right now. But I love the entire makeup of that room. Steve Gregory and then Tony Carter's in there. I'll be in there a little bit. We can't wait. Obviously, we are right now, but super excited.
All right, real quick before we let you go, obviously night one is over, but the draft is not over. There's still a lot more to come. What do the next couple of days and evenings look like for you?
Yeah, so still just watching some tape here as we, we just basically end up taking all those guys off of our list, the guys that got picked last night, reset all of our lists, me specifically on defense, and then kind of just polishing up and just going back and watching some of those guys that might be there for us here in 2 and 3, and then we'll see what happens tonight when we're done at the conclusion of round 3.
All right, best of luck, Coach. Thanks so much for joining us, and congrats on getting your corner.
Thank you.
All right, we've talked to Bob Quinn, we've talked to Matt Patricia, we've talked to Cory Undlin. We figured who better to talk about Jeff Okudah joining the Lions than his position coach, the Lions DB coach, Steve Gregory. Steve, thank you so much for joining us, and your guest as well. Introduce her to us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tori. Thanks for having me. This is Aviana, my daughter. She's 6 going on 17 or whatever they call it, right? You say hi to everybody?
Hi. I love it. I love it. That's been one of the coolest parts of this whole draft process, being at home, is being able to see everybody's kids. It's kind of a once in a lifetime experience to have everyone's kids involved in the draft process as well. So we are happy to have Aviana with us here as we talk about Jeff Okudah. Steve, I'm sure that it was a really fun night for you last night watching the Lions take a DB that you are going to get to work with. What was your reaction to the pick?
Yeah, I was excited. Had watched a lot about Jeff throughout this whole process. Got a chance to interview him throughout the process as well, and liked everything about him. So to see him get picked this year with us to be a Detroit Lion, I'm extremely excited. Can't wait to work with him, and I know he's excited as well.
What was your personal reaction when Bob let you know this is the pick we're going with?
Yeah, I almost jumped through the ceiling. I was pretty excited that he was coming here. It was just a really good feeling to know that, he's going to be a Detroit Lion. We're going to get to work with him. He's going to love the organization. He's going to love the guys in our room. And we're just excited to get to work with him.
I know as DB coaches and as position coaches, you guys evaluate the guys at your position. Of all the different guys you evaluated at DB, what stuck out about Jeff?
Really, it's just, more than the player, he's a complete player. He really can do it all out on the field. There's some things that he can improve on as well. He knows that. He'd admit that as well. But really just the person that he is, his eagerness to learn, his eagerness to become better each and every day, his work ethic, the characteristics that he carries with him on a daily basis really set him apart, and it's really what we fell in love with.
I'm sure. Now, getting him acclimated to this team is definitely going to be an interesting process, considering that part of things is all virtual. The Lions off-season program starts virtually after the draft. How do you expect that to go, bringing a rookie along and doing it all online?
Yeah, I think, that's going to be one of the most challenging parts of this, is because, depending on how this all goes down, the guys aren't going to be able to come to the facility and do things as normal. So, we're going to do our best. I think everybody's kind of learning as we go on how the best way to approach this thing is. But we're going to do our best to try to virtual learn the same way we are here through Zoom meetings and different things. We can still, share our screen and do playbook stuff and do virtual things that way, from film study and just different things, put a whiteboard up and teach that way. So I think there's some unique ways that we can teach and get the rookies, caught up to speed on things like that. Obviously, the thing that's going to hurt them the most is not being able to be around the guys in the locker room, building that camaraderie, being out on the field, going against, the offense, within our own team and being able to do things that way. But, I think it's something that everybody across the league is facing right now, and we'll just do our best to adapt to it.
We talked to Cory Undlin a little bit about how Jeff will fit into that overall defense. Obviously, joining a list of guys like Amani Oruwariye, he's joining Desmond Trufant. Those guys are all going to be in that DB room that you're going to be meeting with virtually as a group. How do you see him fitting into that overall group of guys?
I think he's going to be great. I think the guys are going to instantly gravitate towards him. He's a guy that is really focused. He wants to learn. He wants his teammates to be competitive and supportive of him, and he's going to be supportive of his teammates as well. So, he really is going to fit in just fine within our group.
All right, Aviana, I want to get your expert opinion. What do you think? Do you like the Lions pick of Jeff Okudah? All right, we got approval from Aviana. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us. This was perfect. We loved getting your insight on Jeff. Now, we've talked so much about him. How about we take a look at some of his highlights? Here you go, guys.
Jeff Okudah backs down from nobody. He's big enough to play the big guys, and he's fast enough and quick enough to play the small guys. There's very few holes in his game.
Watch me take control.
Off a play action, that pass is intercepted by Jeff Okudah.
Talking about one of the top corners, if not the top corner in the entire country.
That ball broken up by guess who? Jeff Okudah.
Watch me take control.
Okudah came across and picked it off. It's a first down play. Martinez from the pocket, looped it over the head, and it's intercepted. Picked off the hands of Robinson, and Okudah's got his second pick tonight.
He's complete. He's physical. He'll run. He'll do everything you ask for him to do, and he tackles well too.
Yeah. Watch me take control.
Jeff Okudah, who they feel is a top 5 pick.
Ooh, that guy can play football.
Fans, Matthew Stafford here.
Hey guys, Frank Ragnow here.
What's up, guys? This is TJ Hawkinson, Detroit Lions 2019 first-round draft pick.
We know this year's draft looks and feels a little bit different, but we hope we're providing a sense of connection and getting you excited for the season to come.
I want to say good luck to all the prospects this year. This is still such an exciting time for cities throughout the country.
Detroit fans never failed to show their determination and their resilience, and we need it now more than ever.
But before next season, we as an NFL family have an opportunity to help those who've been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
We're calling on you to make a difference this draft. Please join me, my teammates, and NFL fans across the country in an NFL Draft-a-thon.
Please join the Detroit Lions in supporting Feeding America as part of the NFL Draft-a-thon.
Please join us in Feeding America.
Visit NFL.com/relief.
Remember, if you want to take part in the league's Draft-a-thon initiative and support Feeding America, you can go to NFL.com/relief. We continue our day 2 virtual draft party presented by Miller Lite by bringing in Tim Twentyman and Mike O'Hara from DetroitLions.com. Gentlemen, we've talked so much about what happened last night. We've heard from the player, the coaches. I want to get your reactions really quick. What did you think of the Lions' number 3 pick of Jeff Okudah? Tim, we'll start with you.
Well, I think it made sense. Obviously it was a position of need and it was the best player available at that spot. So look, he's going to come in, he's going to compete to be the number 1 or number 2 cornerback. He's going to play a ton of snaps for them. He fits what they do defensively in terms of he's a man cover corner. He's got quick feet, good size, speed. I think he can cover big guys. He can cover fast guys. I think he's just a perfect fit. And it was just a terrific pick at number 3. Like I said, position of need and best player available.
Mike, what's your take on Okudah?
I'd agree with Tim. I think he's got everything you want. He's got football character, personal character, then on the field. He's got really an impeccable resume, I would say. And like Tim said, it's a player at a position of need and clearly the best player at that position. and probably one of the 4 or 5 best players in all of this draft. Then, of course, the reaction of the Lions not being able to get a trade because other teams didn't want to trade. It's like the fans and some of the media want to take the GMs of the other teams and do a hostile interrogation and beat it out of them, give me a fifth or whatever. It just doesn't work that way. You can't deal with people who don't want to deal back. So all in all, I thought the Lions got it right on opening night.
Very good point by you, Mike. All right, we've talked enough about what happened on night one. There's still 2 more days left of the draft, so there is a lot to discuss still. Tonight, we kick off things with day 2. We have round 2 coming up at 7 p.m. tonight. I want to get you guys' takes on what you think is going to happen. What needs do the Lions still have left? Mike, you go ahead.
Well, I like the running backs, and the 3 best ones are there right now. One was taken already, and I don't think he was one of the, in my mind, he wasn't one of the top 3. He was one of the top 4. Kansas City took him on the last pick of the first round. But I like Jonathan Taylor of Wisconsin, if you like a guy who can carry the load. I like DeAndre Swift of Georgia. I just think he's a multiple back who could really step in and be your starting back. Then J.K. Dobbins might have the quickest acceleration to the hole and to the end zone of the 3. But I'd really rank them if it was me now. It would be Swift and then Taylor and then Dobbins. But I don't think you go wrong with any of the 3.
Tim, let's hear from you now. Who do you think the Lions might go with in that second round?
Well, they addressed their secondary, obviously, in the first round. And I think, you can look to bolster the defensive line. I think there's a number of terrific guys there along the defensive line, both interior guys, guys that put their hand in the dirt, a la Trey Flowers, and then, guys that can fill that kind of Devon Kennard, Jamie Collins Sr. role. Guys like Ross Blacklock, Nevin Gallimore, those guys fit as kind of interior defensive tackle guys that can bolster that interior. I particularly like Blacklock, a guy that can rush the passer, do a lot of different things. I think he could, play a lot of different techniques and go up and down that line. And then, the Yetur Gross-Matos, the defensive end from Penn State, super athletic guy. AJS Panessa, the defensive end from Iowa. I think those are guys that are kind of that 4-3, hand in the dirt kind of edge type rusher. Those guys would be, I think, a fit and terrific in this defense. They, Panessa, what you're seeing here is a guy that can hold the edge against the run. He can obviously get to the passers you're seeing there too. And so I think they'd be fit. And then, a little bit different, that kind of stand-up guy, that guy that, I think we're going to see Jamie Collins Sr. in that role a little bit, but guys like Josh Uche from Michigan, Zach Bond from Wisconsin, Terrell Lewis from Alabama, Curtis Weaver, Boise State. I think those are all names that fit that kind of role too. So I think whatever the Lions want to do along their defensive line, whether it's interior, a kind of hand in the dirt edge guy, or a stand-up rusher, I think they can find them in day 2. There's a lot of those guys still out there.
All right, so round 3 comes along. Obviously, Mike, you talked about how the Lions did not trade on night 1, but they've got a couple extra picks tonight. Do you think we might be able to see some of those tonight, Tim? Some trades?
Yeah, I would think so, Tori and Tim. And talking about round 1, it's sort of like an event in itself, and people sometimes give a team the entire grade on what they do in round 1. But look at the Detroit Lions roster. Now, what Bob Quinn has done with that roster in round 3. Look at Kenny Galladay, a Pro Bowl wide receiver taken at the bottom of round 3 years ago. And look at just a rising young star as a wide receiver. Tracy Walker, the starting safety right now. They had Graham Glasgow in Bob's first draft, a 3rd round pick, starting center, starting guard. You can really flesh out your roster in rounds 2 and rounds 3 if you do your due diligence and really work at it. And I think that's been one of the hallmarks of the Quinn regime, is that they keep just churning, looking for players. And I think it's paid off in the mid rounds. Now, 2nd and 3rd may not exactly be mid rounds, but there's an awful lot of good players there, and I think they can find them again this year.
Good stuff there from Mike O'Hara and Tim Twentyman. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on day 2 of the virtual draft party presented by Miller Lite. That does it for us here on the 2nd day of the draft. It's almost time for the draft to start, so we will let you guys go. We appreciate you joining in to this 2nd night of our virtual draft party. Don't forget that we will be going live later on in the night, catching up with Chris Spielman once again to break down the Lions' 2nd round pick. We'll see you then.
what a catch! Off the football, real fast. The Lions have got it. Gonna get hit. Gonna get sacked. Oh, this place is on fire now.
When you're home, there's nothing like enjoying a classic with a classic. Miller Lite, great taste and only 96 calories.